Hello and welcome to the Beat Cancer Answer, brought to you by BeatCancer.Org, the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. We believe that 90% of all cancers could be eliminated through environmental and lifestyle choices alone, and science agrees. Unfortunately, most people don't know it, so we provide the education that can help you prevent, cope with, and beat cancer through diet, lifestyle, and other immune-boosting approaches. On every podcast, we will feature an expert who can teach us how to become part of that 90% who could prevent getting diagnosed with cancer. If you already have cancer, we have empowering information for you too. Over the past 35 years, we have helped thousands of cancer patients get back into the driver's seat when it comes to their personal journey of healing cancer and preventing future reoccurrence. Listen now as BeatCancer.Org founder and educational director Dr. Susan Silberstein interviews natural cancer cure researcher Ty Bollinger.
Today we're going to be talking with Ty Bollinger. Ty is a health freedom advocate, a health researcher, a former competitive bodybuilder. He is a talk radio host and a best-selling author. After losing several family members to cancer, he began a quest to learn all he possibly could about alternative cancer therapies and the medical industry. In 2006, after almost a decade of cancer research, he published Cancer Step Outside the Box, which has become a best-selling book. And he also has collaborated since 2011 with Dr. Michael Farley in publishing a book on medicinal herbs entitled A Guide to Understanding Herbal Medicines and Surviving the Coming Pharmaceutical Monopoly. I love that title. As well as another book, Work with Your Doctor to Diagnose and Cure 27 Ailments with Natural and Safe Methods. Ty also teamed up with Robert Scott Bell to publish Unlock the Power to Heal, another book. In 2014, he traveled throughout the United States and interviewed renowned doctors and scientists about treating cancer naturally. And he eventually produced 2 documentary miniseries entitled The Quest for the Cures. And then this year, he traveled the entire globe interviewing more doctors and scientists and cancer survivors, and has produced the Truth About Cancer series, which many of our supporters actually have watched. Ty is a frequent lecturer, a regular guest on radio shows, and he writes for numerous magazines and websites. He's appeared on Fox News and co-hosts a weekly radio show called Outside the Box Wednesdays. Ty, thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, you betcha, Susan. Thank you for having me on the show. Really looking forward to it.
My pleasure. Now, you and BeatCancer.Org are very much sending the same message when it comes to diet and detoxification and lifestyle and immune enhancement for control of cancer. And you might know that actually my cancer journey, my journey as a cancer educator began 38 years ago after my 30-year-old husband died of the ravages of cancer treatment. So tell us what motivated you to become involved in cancer research.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say, Susan, I'm sorry to hear that. I did not know that. But I guess we have sort of a similar story. I lost my mother and father and 5 other close family members to cancer, or actually, there was the treatment that killed them, not the cancer, to be honest with you, much like your husband.
Yes.
And that was what really led me down this rabbit hole of beginning to research natural cancer treatments. I began to learn of the outright suppression of information that there exists today about the persecution of doctors that dare to employ anything natural outside the box in their practice to treat cancer. And that's kind of what got me interested to start with.
Yeah, that's the bless and the mess, right? That's how the mess becomes the message, and that's what we're both about. Now, why do you think we've seen such an explosion of cancer in this last century?
I think that primarily it's because of just a different lifestyle that we're living than we were 100 years ago. If you look at the typical let's just look at here in the United States. The typical American spends hours a day sitting on a computer exposed to electromagnetic radiation, and that was not around 100 years ago. The typical American drinks, 70% of us drink water that's fluoridated and has chlorine in it and other chemical contaminants that were not around 100 years ago. The typical American diet is really sad. The standard American diet is very sad. It's devoid of enzymes and nutrients, eating a lot of processed foods, eating meats that have from animals that have been fed antibiotics and other dangerous chemicals injected with vaccines and so forth. We're breathing air that's contaminated. We didn't have airplanes 100 years ago that were spraying toxic chemicals on us. So, when you look at it from an environmental toxicity perspective, almost everything that we're exposed to on a daily basis is toxic, whether it's the air, the water, the food, or even just the sitting in a house that's close to a cell tower. These invisible visible poisons that we are exposed to with this electromagnetic frequencies that were not around 100 years ago. It's really, I'm shocked that anybody's born now without cancer, as much toxicity as we have.
Well,
and so I think that's primarily the reasons.
Right, and of course the lifetime risk is now close to 1 in 2. And I just wrote an article that we're posting on our blog about how you can make sure you're the other 1 in 2. And there's lots of things that we can do in terms of diet, lifestyle. But in terms of treating diagnosed cancer, I know you agree with me that we're not really winning the war on cancer with our current tools, are we?
Well, the only war that's being aggressively fought is the war against people that use natural methods to treat cancer. There's not really a war on cancer. I mean, the war on cancer is a fraud. It has perpetuated trillions of dollars, the funneling of trillions of dollars into the pockets of what I call the medical mafia. We're treating cancer with antiquated methods that go all the way back to the World Wars and the drugs that were used to kill soldiers in the World Wars. That was the inception of chemotherapy. We're still treating cancer that same way that we were 70, 80 years ago. It doesn't work any better than it did then. The whole approach towards cancer is wrong. The reason that we will never win a war against cancer is using these conventional methods of cut, poison, and burn, the surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, is that we're treating symptoms rather than cancer. And so with traditional oncology today, if you have a tumor that shrinks, whether it's from chemo or radiation, or if you cut that tumor out with surgery, then we'll say, hey, by Jove, we got it. The tumor's shrinking, the tumor's gone, you're in remission. Well, the problem is, Susan, and you know this, that the tumor's not the problem. The tumor is a symptom of something that's gone wrong in the body.
Exactly. And of course, Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. If we don't change the system of treating the body, as opposed to just treating the symptom, and we're not really ever going to win the war.
No, you can't. I mean, the tumor is a symptom that something's gone wrong in the body. So I don't care if we shrink a tumor, we cut out a tumor or whatever, there's still something wrong in the body that led to that tumor. It makes as much sense treating cancer that way as it would if you're driving down the road in your car and your check engine light goes off, and instead of going to a mechanic to figure out what's wrong with the car, if you just take a hammer and you smash the light. Mm-hmm. That's really what we're doing with chemotherapy and with radiation, with surgery. We're smashing the body's check engine light, which is that cancerous tumor that is there for a reason. And the reason is it's trying to tell us something's gone wrong, Will Rogers. You need to correct an imbalance in the body. But instead of correcting that imbalance, we just cut out the symptom. And that's why we have such an abysmal cure rate with the conventional treatments. They don't work, and that's why.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. Now, I know that you were doing a lot of research on the history of the American Medical Association. Tell us how that came about.
Yeah, sure. One of the main questions that I've gotten over the last 10 years since I've been involved with this type of research is, if this is true, these treatments are out there, if cancer really can be cured naturally, well, why does my doctor not know about it? And it's a very valid question. Mm-hmm. And so what I try to do is to explain to people why the doctor does not know about it. And the reason your doctor, if he's a medical doctor, if she's a medical doctor, that does not know, is because 100 years ago, the entire United States medical system was co-opted by big business in what's called the Flexner Report. At this time, the American Medical Association joined forces with the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. And now this is not conspiracy theory. This is fact. You can look it up. This is documented. But they joined forces in order to evaluate medical education in the year 1910. Now, the purpose for the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, they funded this project, was that they wanted to monopolize the chemical industry. They owned a lot of chemical companies and oil companies. You've heard of Standard Oil from Rockefeller. And their goal was to get rid of competition and to create a monopoly. And so what they did is, through funding this evaluation of the United States medical schools at that time, they sent a man named Abraham Flexner that went along with the head of the Council of Medical Education in the American Medical Association. I think his name was George Simmons. They went together to evaluate medical schools. And by the way, this was done primarily by a man, Flexner, who had no education in medicine at all. So he was basically taking marching orders from the people that were funding the study. And in the end, the medical schools that received the highest evaluation marks that were teaching sound medicine, according to these men, were the ones that were prescribing drugs. And the medical schools that were practicing quackery were the medical schools that were teaching homeopathy and naturopathy and chiropractic. Mm-hmm. All of these practices that had been around for millennia, they were the ones that were deemed to be practicing quackery. Mm-hmm. So as a result of this report, which is called the Flexner Report of 1910, it was eventually submitted to Congress, and this became the document that from that point onward regulated medical school education in the United States. Those medical schools that were deemed to be practicing sound medicine, in other words, pushing drugs, they received all the funding. And the medical schools that were practicing quackery, doing anything natural, they fell by the wayside because they did not receive the funding from the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. And this was funding in the tune of $500 million in the year 1910. That would be equivalent to about $20 billion with a B dollars in today's dollars. So as a result, the schools that were teaching the natural ways to treat disease, they just fell by the wayside. And so all that's left by default today are medical schools that are teaching the drug-intensive type of medicine that was preordained with the Flexner Report of 1910. And that's why your doctor doesn't know. He's not been taught it because medical schools do not teach nutrition.
That is for sure. Those who are doing nice work in that field have done that research on their own. And that's one of the projects of our organization, is to provide continuing education to medical and health professionals, because
Awesome.
Patients shouldn't have to always do it without the guidance of a professional. Now,
Right.
I know you have researched. What would you say are the 3 or 4 most potent natural cancer treatments that most people don't know about?
Well, one of the most potent is called medicinal marijuana. Many people have heard about it. It's all in the news today. But what folks don't realize is that it's a very, very potent cancer treatment. People hear marijuana, and it's because we've been brainwashed. They initially think, oh, you're going to get cancer if you smoke dope, right? You're a pothead. You're going to get lung cancer. Well, in actuality, there was an article that was published almost 80 years ago, and it was entitled The 25,000 Uses of Hemp. The plant is called hemp, actually.
Yes,
it's called cannabis. It's not called marijuana. Mm-hmm. Marijuana was actually a term that the DEA coined back in the 1930s so that the American public would be afraid of a plant that grows naturally. The bottom line is smoking it is only one of 25,000 uses. There are 24,999 other uses, if my math is correct. And they do not involve smoking, getting high. Hemp is a complete superfood, much like chlorella or spirulina. Yes. It contains all the essential fats, even GLA, linolenic acid, which is not present in many other plants to this extent. So it's a superfood from a nutritional perspective. It's also very good with industrial uses. For instance, the first Declaration of Independence, the first Constitution of the United States, was drafted on paper that was made from hemp. It's also used in manufacturing clothing, much more durable than cotton. It also, one of the first Model Ts of Henry Ford was made from hemp fiber, and it ran on fuel made from hemp. It's a very versatile plant, but that doesn't even include the dozens of different uses that it has from a medicinal perspective. It cures epilepsy, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. It not cures, but it helps to mitigate the symptoms of these terrible diseases that we don't really have much of an answer for. And then we get to cancer. Every study since 1974, which was the first study that was done on hemp and cancer, has shown that it is curative, or it helps mitigate the effects of cancer when it comes to 12 different types of cancer, including pancreatic cancer. These are studies that have been done at Harvard, that have been done at reputable schools in Japan, And these are studies, University of Virginia Medical School was the first one. They all show that hemp has an inhibitory effect on cancer cells proliferating, that hemp causes, it stops angiogenesis, which is the creation of the blood supply,
Right.
that hemp creates apoptosis in cancer cells, it causes them to self-destruct. Hemp actually is one of the best natural treatments for cancer. And if you're a cancer patient that's undergoing chemo and radiation and you're sick all the time from the side effects of these treatments, hemp can also allow you to regain your appetite and get out of what's called a cachexia cycle, where your body basically digests itself and you end up looking like a concentration camp victim and you wither away and die.
All right, so that's one of your most potent natural cancer treatments. Give us a few more, Ty.
Yeah, another really potent natural cancer treatment that many of the doctors that I have interviewed on this quest for the cures utilize in their practice is called hyperthermia.
Oh,
and
yes.
hyperthermia, means excessive, and thermia is heat. So you heat the body up to 105, 106, 107 degrees, sometimes a little bit hotter. And the cancer cells, being very primitive cells, they have a different respiratory mechanism than normal cells, do not respond well to heat. And so hyperthermia is something that many of these doctors are including in their protocol, along with other things, to help to selectively target the cancer cells. And that's a very important aspect of these treatments, Susan, is that they are selectively toxic to cancer cells. Chemotherapy kills cancer very, very well. It also kills you. It kills your good cells. These treatments that I advocate that are natural treatments do not kill the good cells. They just kill the cancer cells. And that's one of the ways that hyperthermia is very effective is that it does not target normal cells. It is selectively toxic to the cancer cells.
Oh, yes.
Something that anyone can incorporate into their day-to-day routine.
And, I've been making referrals for hyperthermia or thermotherapy for many, many decades. And sometimes we do it locally, and sometimes we do it regionally, and sometimes we can get systemic thermotherapy. And the results I've seen are quite amazing.
It really is quite amazing. As a matter of fact, there's a clinic that I toured over in Cologne, Germany, and they use the local, sometimes the whole body hyperthermia with great results, even on cancers such as brain cancers that are very difficult to treat. They're getting great success with adding hyperthermia to that protocol.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's another one of your favorites. Give me a couple more.
Sure. Another one that we learned about recently while we were in Latvia, in Riga, Latvia. Latvia is a country that's adjacent to Russia, just south of the Baltic Sea, is a treatment that's called Rigvir, R-I-G-V-I-R. That's short for Riga virus. And it's a virus that's a good virus that is found in the guts of children that is selectively toxic to cancer cells. And this treatment has been very effective at treating about a dozen different types of cancer with this good virus. You hear virus and you think all of a sudden this is bad, but just like bacteria that are good and bad, you have viruses that are also good and bad. And this is a virus that's considered to be an ECO7 virus found in the healthy gut of children, and it's selectively toxic to cancer cells. This I saw testimonials where I interviewed patients that got testimonials from them for patients that were literally given less than a couple of weeks to live, that were alive up to 5 years later using this Rigvir treatment with this selectively toxic virus. Very fascinating. I won't go into too much detail on it because you're going to get it with this global quest for the cures that we're going to air in October. But that's another one that is really fascinating to me, the way that this one virus is selectively toxic to cancer cells.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, there are a number of types of immunotherapy, and one type I talk about is the kind that introduces a small amount of a toxin to wake up the immune system, and we often see some excellent results with cancer. All right, so now we have 3. Do you want to go for one more?
Sure. Now, when you mention immunotherapy, there are a lot of different herbal remedies that I believe in, that I advocate, that would take that approach. They're harnessing the immune system, which is our own God-given system to fight disease. Several of these herbal remedies, many people have heard of the Essiac tea, which is an Indian folk remedy from Canada that works extremely well. Another one is called the Hoxsey tonic. It was developed by a man named, it was actually developed by the grandfather of Harry Hoxsey, but Harry then opened up 17 clinics across the United States. He was eventually run out of the United States into Mexico. It's now called the Biomedical Center, and they are in Tijuana, Mexico, and they use this Hoxsey tonic. And I just interviewed a pancreatic cancer patient down there within the last month that was 40 years from diagnosis, Susan, 40. 4 decades.
Yep.
That's unheard of with conventional medicine. So that's another herbal remedy that harnesses the immune system. Another one is called Life One, Lifeone. It was developed by my good friend, Dr. Michael Farley, that I've written a couple of books with.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these herbal remedies have fantastic success with getting the immune system running the way it's supposed to so that your body can fight cancer. And they all contain different medicinal herbs and things that you've heard of, like sheep sorrel, turkey rhubarb, resveratrol, quercetin, diindolylmethane, chrysin, green tea extract. I mean, the list goes on and on. Selenium. And these are all different. These are herbs and vitamins and minerals that we've all heard of, and we know that they have anti-cancer effects. The thing that makes these herbal remedies so potent is the fact that the people that develop them combine them in such a way that there's a synergy between the herbs that makes their effectiveness exponentially greater than if you were to take them separately.
Yes, and I often get the question, well, if I don't have a lot of money, does that mean I'm doomed to die? How do you answer that? I have my answers, but how do you answer that?
No, absolutely not. There are many of these treatments are very, very affordable for people that don't have a lot of money. I mean, I know for a fact that you can go down to the Hoxie Clinic, to the biomedical center in Mexico, get a hold of this Hoxie tonic, and they'll get you, I think it's like a 3-month supply. And it's right around $1,000, sometimes up to around $2,000. And that's nothing. I mean, that's like a tenth of one treatment for chemotherapy. So these people can come up with that kind of money. It's not that. Now, some of the clinics are very expensive, yes, but many of them, like the Hoxie Clinic, the biomedical center, are not. So you're not doomed to die if you seek out the right place. And many of the treatments can be done at home. The hyperthermia can be done at home. A lot of these herbal remedies can be bought online and done at home. But I do recommend that you get under the supervision of a doctor or somebody that's kind of like a cancer coach that understands what you should be doing. But there's many people out there that will do that through teleconferencing for very, very nominal fees. So no, you're not doomed to die if you have cancer and you're low income. One of the things that I would ask anybody that says that is, okay, you've got cancer. You need to get together some money to treat it. Let me go through your house and let me see what you have on your shelves. I'm sure that I'm not going to see ice cream. I'm sure that I'm not going to see fast food. I'm sure that I'm not going to see any lotto tickets on the kitchen table, right? I'm not going to see, subscriptions to DirecTV or movie channels and all. And so people this will bring it home to them. There is a lot of waste in what we spend each month. And if people will prioritize, even people that are lower income can come up with the money to do these treatments if they'll get rid of the excess that they don't need.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good point, because there are so many natural cures that are already potentially just sitting in our kitchen.
Yes, they are. They are. And many of the cures that are sitting in our kitchen are being detrimentally affected by the other things that are sitting in our kitchen that we're eating that are killing us and giving us cancer as opposed to healing us. So what I look at it is if your food is not healing your body, then your food by necessity is making you sick. So get rid of all the crap that we're eating that is making us sick, and let's stick to eating things. Question yourself before you take a bite of anything. Is this going to bring me life, or is it going to make me sicker?
Thank you so much for joining us on the Beat Cancer Answer. If you learned just one thing today about how to prevent, cope with, or beat cancer, then we have succeeded in our mission. For more information or assistance, visit our website at BeatCancer.Org. Remember to sign up for our educational email series and get your free gift. Join in the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, where you can meet others who think just like you. We appreciate all of your feedback and love your suggestions. Please also remember to rate us on iTunes. Your positive ratings help us to get discovered so we can save more lives. Thank you again for listening, and best wishes for good health from all of us at BeatCancer.Org.